In the winter of 1795, the Severn River swelled into a massive, muddy torrent. Ice and violent currents surged over the riverbanks, carrying enormous chunks of debris downstream at terrifying speeds. Along the river, communities watched as their heavy, multi-arched masonry bridges took the full brunt of the disaster. Brick, wood, and solid stone structures were completely overwhelmed by the deluge. The problem lay in the shape of the structures themselves. Thick stone pillars and wide arches act essentially like massive dams. They blocked the surging water and trapped the heavy ice, until the immense pressure caused the pillars to snap and crumble. Builders of the late 18th century were hitting a harsh ceiling. Every time nature pushed hard enough, these ancient building methods failed. People were physically limited by the constraints of earth and timber, unable to construct infrastructure that could withstand nature's extremes. But further down the Severn, at a gorge in Coalbrookdale, Shropshire, a single, highly unusual bridge stood completely untouched above the floodwaters. Compared to the chunks of heavy masonry floating downriver, this slender, metallic structure looked totally alien. Nobody had ever used a metal to cross a span like this before. Its survival was the result of a deliberate, radical experiment built 16 years earlier, in 1779, by two local visionaries. What exactly did Thomas Pritchard and Abraham Darby figure out in 1779 that allowed their creation to shrug off a disaster that destroyed everything else? The story starts with an architect named Thomas Pritchard. He wanted to cross the Severn River with a massive, single 100-foot arch without placing any bulky support pillars in the middle of the water. A 100-foot span without middle supports is incredibly difficult with stone. To hold a span that wide, you need an enormous amount of dense rock. The sheer weight of all that masonry would likely cause the arch to collapse under its own oppressive mass. Pritchard knew his design required a material that didn't exist in standard architecture, so he took his plans to Abraham Darby, a third-generation master ironmaker who ran a local foundry. Reaching the next era of infrastructure wasn't a matter of drawing a better arch. It was a problem of physics and materials that a traditional architect couldn't solve alone. Looking at this diagram, we see exactly why iron works. Stone is brittle. If you apply bending pressure, it snaps. But iron has high tensile strength, bending under heavy loads without breaking. Darby's foundry cast massive, curved ribs of this iron. These slender ribs supported immense weight, weighing a fraction of solid stone. But when it came time to actually construct the bridge in 1779, they ran into a snag. Nobody had ever built an iron structure. Darby and his workers had to rely on traditional carpentry techniques, casting giant metal pieces with slots and dovetails, and wedging the iron ribs together exactly like a wooden timber frame. The result was a jarring contrast against the natural landscape. Instead of earth and cut timber, people were looking at a rigid cast metal skeleton. By joining cast iron with carpentry joints, Darby and Pritchard demonstrated that metal could be framed like timber while providing the structural integrity of stone. This hybrid technique provided the first workable blueprint for the metal-framed world we live in today. Which brings us back to the freezing, surging river of 1795. Why did this specific bridge stand firm while the masonry bridges upriver were torn apart? The answer lies in the geometry of the arch. Because iron is so strong, Darby didn't need to build a solid wall. He could build a slender, open lattice framework full of empty space. When the violent floods arrived, the traditional stone arches acted like barricades and took the full, crushing force of the water. But the river's floodwaters simply flowed harmlessly straight through the large gaps in Darby's iron ribs. The exact material properties that made a 100-foot arch possible also made it immune to floods. Its incredibly low mass and porous design served as its ultimate shield. Surviving the 1795 flood provided a definitive proof of concept. It proved to engineers worldwide that iron, and eventually its stronger cousin steel, were far superior to stone for large-scale infrastructure. The original iron bridge hasn't gone anywhere. More than 2 centuries after Abraham Darby and Thomas Pritchard locked the very first metal wedges into place, their creation is still standing and still in active use today. Every towering glass and steel skyscraper, thousands of miles of heavy railway, and every sprawling suspension bridge owes its lineage to this specific crossing in Shropshire. The Iron Bridge remains the physical evidence of a shift in human building,